Here are 3 ways to tell if it's just attachment or an actual fucking connection. So, I hear this all the time. You feel a spark. You can't stop thinking about them. But here's the question. Is it a real connection, or is it just your nervous system mistaking chaos for chemistry? So in this video, I'm going to break down 3 clear ways to tell if it's love or if it's just your attachment style getting activated, which I know all too well because I am your former poster girl for being the anxious attacher who couldn't fucking sit still, especially for the anxious daters, because intensity often gets confused with intimacy. We think the butterflies mean that they're the one, but sometimes the butterflies are anxiety, not alignment. So let's get into how to actually tell the difference psychologically, somatically, and emotionally. I have a good friend of mine, Dr. Scott Lyons, who always says, the spark is often the trauma tingles, and that's just familiarity. That is blood rushing to your phalanges so that you could run to safety. But the problem is when they're attractive, you think you're running to them. And I hear it all the time too of, oh, I went on a date, but I didn't feel the spark. I didn't feel what I want to feel. And it's like, well, when you're chasing a feeling, that's usually what's going to happen because inevitably that's going to go away because people are human. And guys, this is the kind of stuff I dive into on my podcast too, especially my episode on connecting versus attaching. So if you want more depth, all of that will be linked below. And the podcast is called The Sabrina Zohar Show. So let's talk about chemistry versus safety, because I think that's a big aspect here. And the key number 1 sign that we want to look at is you're regulated, you're not obsessed. Because in a real connection, you can feel calm, you can feel curious, you can feel present, but you don't necessarily feel addicted or anxious or fucking obsessive. When you start to feel like that, that's when we know, okay, this is our nervous system dysregulation. And none of us are baseline to just feel obsessive about people. But typically speaking, that's because we're attached, we're not actually connected. So an example of that could be like a real connection. You leave the date feeling energized, but also grounded. Like when I left with Ryan, like I felt really great when I left, but I wasn't freaking out being like, oh my God, what if he never calls me? Oh my God, he's going to abandon me. He's going to leave me. It's like, I'm not attaching to this person. He's not my father. I'm not a 6-year-old who's being left alone. Like this is somebody that I'm on a date with and I'm determining if I even want to see them again. Versus an attachment wound, you leave feeling super anxious. You're questioning everything and you're compulsively checking your phone to see, did they choose me? Are they going to come back? Did they leave me? Did they get over me? Whatever. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. So let's also just hold space for that. You're not crazy. You're not too much. You're not too any of those things that you want to diagnose yourself as. You're a human who's just going through some shit. And so let's explain like what's actually happening psychologically. So dopamine spikes are not connection, they're fucking intensity. And every time you wait for the text, that's why I say stop with the texting. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to fucking say this. If you are dating somebody and within the first month, we're meeting friends and family, we text every day, we're FaceTiming all the time, we're going on dates all the time, you're rushing. You start at 100 and you're forcing that intimacy. I will all but guarantee it. Do you feel safe? I get these emails every day. Every day I answer people's questions. You could write in, if you go to link in bio, you could purchase a question. You get a video back from me where I fucking answer your situation privately. And the amount of times I will see that of like, oh, well, we've been dating for a month and they're so amazing and all of these and da-da-da. But now I'm starting to feel the disconnection. I feel that I'm starting to pull away. It's like, because it's not sustainable. Real connection is oxytocin and a ventral vagal state and mutual emotional safety. That doesn't mean that you have to feel this electrified, like fucking high. God, I will never forget. I have shared this on the podcast on the story, but for those of you guys who are new, buckle up. I had an appointment. I was getting my hair done or something. I don't want to say who it actually is because you guys will probably figure it out who. So I was in an appointment and I'm telling this girl how a few years ago when I lived in New York, I had this first date that was like electric. It was kismet. I like was sweating while I was on the date. It's like, yeah, that's physiologically my fucking body telling me to run. And I thought he was so good looking. He was like just chiseled from fucking stone, 6'4", a body that like you're just like, is this real? Or are you a Ken? Like what? And just so smart and so fun and so successful and visiting from LA. And he says, oh no, I'm in New York every 2 weeks and I'm ready for a relationship. And even it was the first type of date where like even the waiter was like, how long have you guys been together? And you're like, oh, it's our first date. They're like, no way, you guys have a crazy connection. Here we are. And I remember just being on cloud 9 and we like made out. We didn't like do anything, but like, we hung out for a little bit and I was just like, no, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to rush. I really kind of just like want to see what's going to happen and where things are going to go. And I remember he left or like we like parted ways that night and he said, I have to see you again. I really want to go on another date with you. Like, can I see you later this week? Great. Sounds good. Then a couple of days later, I got a text from him. Like, I'm so sorry. I have to get back home to LA or to California. I had an emergency at my career, my job, my company, blah, blah, blah. I'm so sorry. Pretty much sending me a photo of him in the car. Like, I'm on my way to the airport. And I was just like, oh, okay. Hey, thank you for letting me know. And I never fucking saw this guy again. But it was this like cat and mouse of like, oh yeah, I'm single. Yeah, I want a relation. Never came back to New York either. Love those types that always say that they're coming back and they don't. And I just kept, but I had the spark and the connection, and he was so amazing. And he was like the one that got away from me. And then I remember I met my ex and at the time, and he has now become one of the worst relationships. Like, it taught me and created who I am today. Don't get me wrong, but it fucking killed me almost. And this guy and I, we'd been chatting, and even when I moved to San Diego a few years ago, he and I had been in contact, and it was just like, he was starting to listen to Andrew Tate, and I was like, all right, I think you're changed. You're not the guy that I thought you were. So I'm getting my appointment. I'm at my appointment, and I'm telling her about this. And she stopped, and she's like, no way. And she's just going, just doing, and she's like, so what was his name? And I say it, and she just kind of stops, and she's like, sorry, where did you say he worked? And I told her, and I just saw her go white. And she starts hyperventilating. She's like, what was his last name? And I said, yeah, did you know him? And she just sat and she's like, that's my fucking ex. That is the narcissist that I've told you all about, who literally broke me into a shell of a human that I have still been in therapy for. I have goosebumps thinking about it right now because I remember being like, oh my God. That's the spark that I felt. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying it always ends out this way. Like, don't fucking come at me in the comments of like, you're just saying your experience, but like, I had the spark. Cool. If it works for you, good luck, Godspeed. But for the average person, stop chasing a fucking feeling. The person that you're going to be with is probably going to be a lot more boring than you think it's going to be, because the reality is, it's not that love is boring, is that it's consistent and it's familiar and it's not high lows, and it's not low lows and high highs. So that's my soapbox on the spark. The second thing I want you to look for, number 2, is you're connecting with the actual fucking person in front of you, not the version that you hope they're going to become. So what does that actually look like in practice? The attachment wound is, he said he doesn't want anything serious, but I can tell he really likes me. And it's like, no, bitch, no, abort fucking mission. Cut that shit. A real connection is we're both being honest about what it is that we want, and I'm not ignoring my gut to stay into this. That is how you choose yourself, because attachment creates idealization, especially when someone's hot and cold. You pedestal them. When you're anxiously attached, fantasy becomes safer than reality because we are avoiding, right? And here for all my anxious attachers, I know you're going to hate me for this, but we are avoiding doing the deeper work on ourselves the more that we focus on them. The more that you focus on why aren't they choosing me and blah, 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 you're avoiding looking at what's coming up for yourself. Love you guys, but it's true. And when we are on potential, there's a difference between, like, when Ryan and I first started dating, when I would express myself and say, I saw potential in the sense meaning like, wow, he really listens. He took the feedback. He's working on himself and he's trying. Okay, we're seeing progress and growth. Not, oh, well, if that guy if he just went to therapy, I know he'd be amazing. It's like, no, you don't get to tell somebody to go to therapy. If he just worked out and like changed his diet and started dressing differently, and you're like, oh, so if they were just a different person? Oh, so you're betting on potential? Let me guess, when you're done with them? No, baby. Date people for who they are. If you see progress, like if I started dating, like when Ryan and I started dating, he was like, I don't lift anymore, but I'd be down if you want to as we start to date. That's something that you're like, yeah, okay, we can grow into this together. But I'm not going to take someone who like works a 9 to 5 and likes to clock in and be like, I want someone who's entrepreneurial and creative and all this. And you're like, okay, but that's not this person. So stop hoping that by the time you're done with them, they'll become that. See them for who they are, not for who you want them to be. That is attachment, because you're pedestaling them and you're saying they're better than me. They are this, they are that. And if they like me, then I'm validated. And so now the third key thing that I want you to look for is you can hold space for your own needs without self-abandoning, and they can fucking too. An example of that, right? And from attachment, you mold to what they want. You fear rocking the boat. You lose yourself. Versus real connection, you both show up in your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. There's room for a fucking difference. I used to think connection meant never disagreeing. Now I know when I'm in a relationship that's healthy, that real connection shows up when you do disagree and you finally feel emotionally safe. That's the biggest difference with my partner. It's not that I'm scared to ever go to him, talk to him about it, ever. I want someone that values me, validates me, and loves me for who I am. And guys, if this resonates and you're realizing that you've been confusing intensity for intimacy, this is why I built my foundation course. Exactly that. It's how to build the tools to stop chasing attachment wounds and start to create a real fucking connection. There is no pressure, but just something to check out. If you're ready and you want some more support, it is there for you. So if you're wondering, is this real or is it just attachment? I want you to ask yourself, do I feel seen and safe? Do I feel like myself? Or am I performing, improving, and panicking? Guys, again, if you want to hear more, I've got a podcast all about this. I did a full breakdown on the Sabrina Zohar show where I go much deeper into the nervous system, dating, all of that shit. And it's not just a dating issue. It's a life issue and it might be a you issue. And healing starts with that fucking awareness. And I am here by your side through it all.